You're hot.
This is why we can't have a professional show.
I don't know about your lighting over there.
You worry about you, I worry about me. How about that?
Fam, I'm looking over here. Welcome back to the CONVO Couch, everybody. Pasta Jardula here.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Oz is on the ones and twos. Newspaper guy here because we don't know how long newspaper shtick is going to last, fam. I heard something.
Not very long.
You wish. Everybody knows I'm like a Castro-looking newspaper guy. And it's a loaded Friday paper. The Friday dump is
you're not.
Great. A's get a Oakland lure. In other words, the Oakland A's are going to move here. You got Jackson takes her seat on the high court. As we know, Justice Breyer is done. Effective, I think it was at noon today. Minimum wage.
Unimportant news.
Wait a second. Hell's Angel guys dies. Dead migrants at the checkpoint, which is the story. Oh my God! And this is in Texas. They didn't get the one about the Spain border, right? Well, at the north of Morocco, all those about 200 Africans have been killed, beat down ridiculously. Everything.
But Ukrainians are welcome.
Yes, 100,000 of them to Spain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they got, I'm saying. Rick Snyder invokes the fifth at Flynn trial. Yellowstone National Park, fam, opened up now. 4 migrants killed on a highway crash. Sale of farmland to Bill Gates approved in North Dakota. You're going to get your impossible milk and your impossible meat. DOJ launches inquiry into famous sex crimes unit. It seems like they're trying to do that Friday dump. NATO vows solidarity. Macron employs leaders. Coronavirus cases on the rise across the globe, the WHO says. Tropical storm hurricane in the Pacific, fam. Newspaper guy here reporting, because here's the thing I was trying to get at. I said that stuff to say this. Newspapers are folding all across the country, fam. I heard this on the No Agenda podcast. I don't know why. Guys like me give newspapers a good name. So we have to fight for newspapers. Newspaper guy out.
Oh, thank God. All right. Let's move on to the real shit.
You want me to wear my hat, fam? For the segments? All right, I'll take my hat off. Sorry about that, fam. My bad. How you doing today?
You're not sorry about anything.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
I didn't mean to take that long. I apologize.
You always take long. That's a reoccurring theme. You do all the time.
All right.
You have to be the center of attention. That is who you are. You get hurt when people don't look at you. Yes. Yes.
I don't know about this. We love you too, Almighty Anarchist and Saul Construct. What's up? A lot of cool people hanging out, fam. A lot of people jumped on in early. I want to say thank you to all our Patreons for sure. All the subscribers on the Rokfin channel, guys. If you haven't got a chance to go over there and subscribe, please do so. And yeah, fam. Love the thumbnail today, Oz. Love the thumbnail. Why don't you show the crowd? See, right now, if I was running the show, fam, I would hit the applause button that Oz never hits.
I think
we need an applause button.
No,
right,
I think that stuff is a little tacky, in my opinion. So,
fam, why can't you just accept that people like us for our tackiness?
Speak for yourself. I am not tacky. I despise tackiness. Okay. I hate anything anything common and tacky is not my cup of tea.
You're more like tacky. I get it. I'm there with you, fam. I'm there with you.
This is why I'm like all the way in Moscow, guys.
You're not far away. I will hunt you down, girl. You think you can hide from me in Moscow? I got peeps there, fam.
You do not have peeps.
Vladdy daddy. I make a phone call and that's it.
Whatever. Anyway.
Let's do it.
So
yes.
Back to things that actually matter. Joe Biden, the president of the United States, right? He's your president. I don't even feel like I'm in the United States.
No. He's your president too. You're not slipping away. Sorry.
Not my president.
You can't just go, no more. Yes.
Not my president.
Own him. That's it.
You know how they said that about Trump? Well, hello. So Joe Biden is very excited. He's very happy and excited because NATO is expanding. And in his excitement, he starts, as we all know, and gleefully laughed at for like 10 minutes straight. That one time, people were like, I like seeing Fee laugh. I was laughing over his little shtick, his little fumbling of when he tried to describe America in one word. He aptly did it.
I don't know why we said, fam, that we were going to program that sound into our soundboard. You know, I got one word that describes America. Got a Fraggle rockin' recognition.
And it is the perfect word to describe the United States of America, unfortunately.
At least the leadership.
Yeah, right. And this is, I always say, it's not the people, it's the leadership. But he did it again. And, you know, RT talked about it this morning as well. But I think it's important that our audience hears this, because what Biden did was mess up his geography. And I know Americans are notoriously bad at geography. I know. I learned that early on when I took human geography, and it was disastrous. But let's just watch the video, because I think you'll understand if you haven't seen the video.
We got on the telephone. He suggested we call the leader of Switzerland. Switzerland, my goodness, I'm getting really anxious here about expanding NATO. Sweden.
So he confused Sweden with Switzerland. I don't know if that was the full clip I wanted to show. But whatever.
It is the most important one, because then he says right after, oh my God, I'm so anxious to expand NATO. It's like, that's funny because it's true, Joe. You've been trying to expand NATO for God knows how long. How long? Yeah.
At least he's admitting it.
with one Freudian slip becomes more truth, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. So he's admitting he's excited about expanding NATO, which to me is just it's hilarious, but it's also kind of just shows where we're at, where they can just blatantly admit what they want. And he did something else in a clip where he didn't know who was actually fighting who. He didn't know that Ukraine was the country in the situation involved. And so a lot of people are pointing to the fact that this guy is not all there, right? And that this is like with teleprompters for the most part, with, you know, everything that he needs to not look like an idiot. So this next clip we have is where he was blaming Russia. Now, this is during the same the same summit in Spain, right? The NATO summit.
Debacle.
Where they're talking about China and Russia again, of course. And they said that China cannot continue doing what they're doing because there's a threat to our national security, the United States national security. So as Americans are facing high prices at the pump, as Americans are facing ridiculous inflation rates, high interest rates, it's getting harder to buy houses. It's getting harder to do anything, right? This is who Joe Biden blames.
Ultimately, the reason why gas prices are up is because of Russia. Russia. The reason why the food crisis exists is because of Russia. Russia not allowing grain to get out of Ukraine.
So fam, it's Vladimir Putin's fault.
It is.
It's Russia's fault.
Yeah.
It's all these people living in Moscow and Russia. It's their fault that you're paying high prices at the pump. It's their fault that your government is just so inept and such a failure. You know, every day that I'm here, I'm just I'm so appalled at how efficient Russians are. They're just so terribly efficient with their transportation and their buses and their metros that function, that if you miss the train in 60 seconds, there's another one. I mean, I can't believe these Russians, you know, what they're doing.
I know. I got corrected this morning when I said it was the Marsha. And I said the wrong Brady. I think it was Jan Brady, right? Yeah,
Jan said Marsha.
Marsha, yeah. So he's pulling the Jan Brady, not the Marsha Brady. That's the whole thing.
Right.
I got to get that right. Yes.
Because Marsha was always perfect. And Jan was like always complaining about Marsha.
Well, she wasn't perfect, fam.
Well, everybody thought she was perfect.
Well, I think so.
Do you want to go over the Brady Bunch sometime?
No, I don't. Before I say anything stupid, let's get on to the next slide, please.
You would say something stupid.
I would.
You would.
I would.
I know you. I agree with you. So I have.
Russia.
So okay. So speaking of Russia, the next video you will see has early footage from the Kremenchuk shopping mall while it started catching fire and smoke filled the area. And in the video, there are no signs of any missile strike or people running away from the mall. And I wanted to show this in this section because I thought it was relevant to blaming Russia for everything, because of course the Western media and Ukraine have been blaming Russia, saying that they have, as we discussed in the last episode of the show, that they are the culprits to bombing and throwing a missile at a mall where people were there and they were killed. Well, this shows early on that people were just coming by to look at the fire and the smoke coming out of this abandoned mall. So it appears that once again, the West and Ukraine's accusations and claims are not adding up. And so the video you're about to see is from Info Defense English Telegram.
Это пизда. Это просто пизда. Это моя маршрутка. Это пизда, я вам отвечаю. Аня успела только зайти туда. Это пиздец. За мат, извини.
So behind this mall that wasn't supposed to be in use at all, and you can kind of see that people were going to it rather than coming out of it, was a hangar with weapons from Europe and the United States that were given to Ukraine. And as the Russians claimed from the start, they were trying to get these weapons because they didn't want those weapons to be used against against the Russian people, because they've already done that before. And I didn't put it up, but I'm just going to read a tweet real quick from, or a statement real quick from the MFA spokeswoman for Russia. She said, as I mentioned, she said, why are the Western nations supplying Ukraine with weapons that are stored in direct proximity to densely populated civilian infrastructure? That is exactly what we call hiding behind civilians. And as we discussed yesterday on the show, this has been happening for a while. This is a reoccurring theme here when it comes to this conflict. And of course, here, you hear about it all the time, because they're kind of like, they have to be very aware of it, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So the last thing that I thought was relevant to this section was that as of a few hours ago, The NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, who is a man, said that Sweden and Finland will be added to NATO, and that is expected to happen and be signed into law, into reality on July 5th. So that is a huge development because NATO is planning on giving weapons to obviously Sweden and Finland. They already have been. And if Sweden and Finland pose weapons right on Russia's border, Russia is going to act. So far, it looks like we're headed in that direction.
Yeah. It's funny how the propaganda is just being played out by the West on a regular basis. It's like they can't stop embarrassing themselves. Fam, as much as they constantly go after and demonize Russia for, attacking poor Ukrainians in, malls and hospitals and all that shit, they try to push that propaganda. When it happens on the other side, they still try to take advantage of it. I know you probably heard this around your neck of the woods, but Ukraine, this is hysterical because all of a sudden, the Western media talked about this one island called Snake Island. And here's the headline, right? And it says, Ukraine retakes Snake Island. This tiny speck of land in the Black Sea has major symbolic value, but winning it back isn't quite the major victory some have claimed. And all the other all the Western media, it's like, victory is there as Ukraine retakes the island. But if you look at the next title from the next article we have up, this is what happened right here. Russia has abandoned Ukraine's Snake Island, and nobody believes it. It was a gesture of goodwill. But that's what's going on. Literally, they left the island and said, you know what? We don't want to freaking guard this island. I think Steve referred to it as a part 3 or a par 4, meaning if you're in golfers' term, it's like just one small golf course. And they tried to spin it like there was so many outlets, fam. Oh, Snake Island has been taken back. They fought hard for it and they got it. Literally, the Russians were leaving and they said, let's get the hell out of here. There's no reason for us to be here. And they're like, okay, we're leaving. You can have your little shit to pull back. But yeah, there goes.
It's always the Ukrainians taking something, but it's never like the Russians just saying, okay, we're done. We don't care anymore. Like, it's just so funny. It's so funny.
You got to appreciate it to try and propaganda from both sides, though. That's all I got to say is both ways. You got to appreciate it, fams.
Yeah. 100%. So that's that section, guys. I thought it was funny. I think, Joe Biden, everybody's laughing at Joe Biden right now. And if you talk to Russians here, they don't hate Ukrainians. They're actually quite upset that this is happening because a lot of them have friends who are Ukrainian and their friends have family in Ukraine, and you can't go to Ukraine anymore. Obviously, it was difficult to go to Ukraine after the Orange Revolution in 2008. That's when it began getting difficult between Ukraine and Russia. And then it became nearly impossible, obviously, in 2014. And even before the war, this conflict started, they started prohibiting men from going into Ukraine. So it was this thing where it's been gradual, but it's definitely hasn't been very amicable for a long time. This didn't happen overnight, as we know. And so a lot of people here are not very happy about that. In fact, there's a lot of a segment of the population that still, just like our population of liberals and some of these people that buy into the BS propaganda, there's some people here that buy into the propaganda where if you say you work for RT, they look at you weird, right? They're like, oh, like you just killed like a cat or something, right? And like, it's obviously worse in like the States, but there's still a segment of that here where if you say you work at RT, people think like, oh, like you're some sort of, Putin apologist or something.
Yeah.
So
Would you say that from what you've experienced right off the jump, that the people there in Moscow have a certain cautious and necessary distrust for their government themselves, a little skeptical? In other words,
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of people think that everybody's walking around Moscow going, oh, they believe everything Putin tells them and whatnot. But I'm sure they're like, no, we're skeptical of our government, like you're skeptical of your government.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of people that don't like Putin. There's a lot of people that are they're very capitalist. They're very anti-USSR, especially the youth. The youth in Russia are, I think, primarily not a fan of the USSR. And it's kind of interesting hearing from Russians when they talk about how Americans have romanticized the USSR, and they think it's kind of cringe when they see Americans, like have hammer and sickles and stuff like that. So the ones that are not a fan of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are people that are fans of that want to bring back elements of the USSR. There's obviously still criticism of it. Today, I did a little bit of a tour of the western part of Moscow, and I went to a church, and I forget the name because I'll probably butcher it anyway, but it was this Russian Orthodox church that was completely destroyed during the USSR because the USSR didn't believe in religion. And so they destroyed a lot of the churches, or they kept the building and didn't keep it in use. So at that point, at that particular church, they built a swimming pool in the center of Moscow, and people went swimming. But in the 90s, after the fall of the USSR, it was rebuilt, and it's very beautiful, and you can go in there. And it's just interesting how they were very much anti-religion. And, there's certain things that I think I'm getting to see both sides, the different types of viewpoints. A lot of the older generations miss the USSR, or they miss the certain aspects of it. There's still certain aspects of socialized type of things in Russia, like healthcare, like the public transportation is very, very cheap. And just certain things are kind of from that era. So I went on Nick's with Nick, Socialist MMA, yesterday on Revolutionary Blackout. And somebody was like, oh, Russia's still has socialist elements because there's no capitalism in Russia. I'm like, no, there's a lot of capitalism, especially in Moscow. Because something is state owned doesn't mean that it eliminates capitalism. No, Russia's very capitalist. And there's the Communist Party of Russia is the second most, I think, powerful entity, but they still they're not in power, and they do oppose Vladimir Putin in a lot of aspects, but there's always that power struggle happening. But there's this nationalism in Russia that they all agree on overall against Western hegemony. So it's very complicated. It's not black and white. And I think a lot of Americans on both ends of the spectrum think about things very black and white.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people got to get out of their, comfort zone, grab yourself a passport and go to these places and experience it too, as well. We saw that, we got to experience a lot of things firsthand and how it changed your perspectives when you get to go into these countries and see what's exactly going on. I think that's what needs to be done, because who are we going to trust? When they start talking about these different countries and their system and what's going on. It's interesting. Because I very much assumed that there was still a lot of capitalists inside Russia, especially since they made that turn, back in the Yeltsin days and whatnot. So it's interesting.
Yeah. No, it is. It is.
What have you been eating, by the way?
Huh?
What have you been eating? Is there a lot of American style food over there? Or
I filmed a video where I'm gonna post.
Yeah.
It's pretty much everything I've been doing, and eating and experiencing. So I'm going to put it on the channel, so look up for that. But it's been kind of interesting. The food tastes different here. Even when you eat something American, For example, French fries. Sometimes, most of the time, they don't come with ketchup. You have to ask for it.
Mhm.
Ice is very rare. Pasta, I've been eating because it's the most normal thing. And I still feel like the food here, like even though it's Italian, you can tell that it's not like made by an Italian. It's good. Some like Italian food, I think, has been really good. Sushi has been really good, but I haven't tried like Russian food yet because I'm a little bit scared.
What do you mean? You've been there for like,
No, it's
give me
kind
a
of like
break.
no,
No
it's just
borscht?
kind of
You haven't had borscht yet?
no. I've had borscht before, but apparently
In Russia. You got to have borscht in Russia.
whatever. I mean, I'll have borscht eventually, but
Yeah.
apparently it's beef based, and I don't know.
Damn. How do you go
yes.
to Russia and don't even eat Russian food? Wow.
I
Ladies and
want to go
gentlemen,
to
you can see now, like the nuance people see what I had to deal with. This is what I had to deal with.
What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
like-
I want to go to a place that's good. That's like so I don't get a
You're
bad
in
impression.
Russia.
Yeah.
Have some friggin' Rasputin food already.
The McDonald's were all turned into I forget what it's called.
Yeah,
like
we saw it. The company.
tasty something. And you won't know because all the logos are gone. But if you walk in, you'll know it's McDonald's.
Yeah. Smart. Funny.
And they
thing.
got Domino's and Burger King and KFC. KFCs are the fanciest KFCs I've seen. They have like a patio and like it's like a restaurant. It's insane.
It is nuts the way, like, remember when Terry told us once in Nicaragua, like she was taking a bunch of Nicaraguan people out to dinner and like, what do they want? They still wanted to experience. None of them had eaten McDonald's, so they wanted to experience it. Like, let's
Yes.
go. And she's like, all right. Here it's like, we know it's like death. Like,
Well,
stay
it's
the
different
fuck
here
away
though.
from them. Yeah.
Like the quality of the meat is better. This is what I'm hearing.
I'm sure, like, I'm pretty sure, like, they probably have localized chickens, whatnot, and all that stuff. And they, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to, man, the farm. Oof.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It's totally like maybe I was thinking that's why I think the food tastes different because it's probably not GMO processed poison in the food. So my American, and like I tend to eat pretty healthy in the United States, but still, I mean, even if it's organic, they got their hands all over all the bullshit anyway. So it doesn't matter. But one of the reasons I spoke to a Russian today, and she said that that the reason they liked McDonald's is because it kind of symbolized a little bit of Western, like that's a Western, like not
Hegemony?
necessarily culture, but like
Western
like-
imperialism.
just no, like just Western, like sort of lifestyle. And it got, when the USSR fell, a lot of Russians were happy that they were able to see some of this stuff. And so to
Fuck.
them,
It's been the
signifies
poison
this-
pill of Americans, dude. Fast
I know.
food.
That's
Like
I
literally
agree.
killing people right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it's
But
so crazy. It's nuts.
I know, but that's
These are the things
how,
that have been killing Americans. This is the mentality. The conservatives that were the freedom fighters, that I want to fight for my right to have a 64-ounce Coca-Cola Fiorella. And I ain't need you telling me no, Giuliani, or no, it was de Blasio who I think he tried to get rid of
Mhm.
64, whatever the case. I mean, that's their sense of freedom, that they can poison themselves as much as they want.
the portion sizes here are like half
Ugh.
or more. Like they're like of what Americans eat. 100%. Like
They probably use like really good mayonnaise and ketchup.
Like a
and
half.
shit. And
Like you order pasta, it's like this big. It's not like
they're
this
using
big.
the real beef at those McDonald's knockoff, whatever they changed them to. If they're using real beef, that's a start. And probably like the crap that they put in the buns here in America are probably awful. Maybe they make them right in Russia. So
Everything's smaller here.
Yeah.
The people, the food.
is
the
it more earthy and organic though? Like, in other words, like what you said in Kentucky Fried Chicken, they're not using like the processed bullshit kind of crazy chickens that are just awful.
It's just
Injected. They're probably using like fresh chickens. Are they doing the same thing in McDonald's, you think? Like, are they using
I haven't
actual
eaten in
real beef?
McDonald's.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go in there to look at what it looks
Just
like.
smell it. Like, I'm wondering, yeah.
Bam, I can't smell it from outside. But I
'Cause
will
I don't know
say-
what McDonald's is using for their burgers here in the States. That ain't beef though. That's
No,
like some
it's
fucked
not.
up, excuse my French. That's some messed up, what? The company's name is the All Beef Patty. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Soy? Yeah, it's an imaginary. Okay. The name of the company is the All Beef Patty. Now, for all of you out there, Oz will remember this. The first Big Mac song went like this. 2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. That's the Big Mac commercial. So the name of the company is called the All Beef Patty. So they can say that. They started that company. Oh God, 2 all beef patties.
Anyway,
Fugazi, messed up meat. Fam, let's get to Syria and Assad.
yeah. So kind of going along with this foreign policy, because here we talk about foreign policy. Ukraine decided to cut ties with Syria over Russia. Okay. And this is something that's developed in the last 24 hours. So Ukraine severed ties with Syria, and they also announced their intention to impose a trade embargo on Syria, and of course are considering other sanctions on Syrian legal entities and individuals. So they went hard on Syria, and they basically said that it's because Damascus recognized the independence of Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics in the Donbass. And in a statement published on his website, the Ukrainian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, said they strongly condemn Syria's decision, which it considers an unfriendly act against Ukraine and an encroachment on its sovereignty and territorial integrity. So Donetsk and Lugansk have wanted to be independent for a long time. Part of the criticism of Vladimir Putin was he took forever. But once Russia recognized it became as independent sovereign republics, it became like a serious thing. And then of course Syria, who is in my analysis a huge partner of Russia, is obviously backing the same thing. And so Ukraine says, in response to this unfriendly act, Ukraine declares the severance of diplomatic relations with Syria without the severance of consular relations. And of course, like I said, they want to impose a trade embargo on Syria. And this happened, developed, like I said, in the last 24 hours. But on Wednesday, the Syrian state news agency Sana quoted a foreign ministry official saying that the Syrian Arab Republic decided to recognize the independence and sovereignty of both the Lugansk People's Republic and the Donetsk People's Republic. And that's what broke the camel's back on that end. And you guys can see in this map, the territories, right? That Donetsk and Lugansk is the Russian pronunciation. It's not Luhansk. And Mariupol. And yeah, so this Ukraine is taking it as a betrayal of sorts from Syria, and it's a big deal because they were okay with Syria for a long time, and so this kind of just signals that the Ukrainians are losing this sort of there's not necessarily they're kind of showing their hand here by with this very, I think it's very like a tantrum. They're having like this tantrum over this because this is what the people want, right? This is what Ukraine is saying, that they're a sovereign nation and that they should be allowed to exist independently of Russia. But when the Donetsk and the Lugansk people, who have been, of course, in the region of the Donbass, have been fighting against the Ukrainian, neo-Nazi paramilitary fascists forever, they don't recognize that. So it just shows their hypocrisy.
Absolutely. It's was this really like not expected? I mean, this is kind of like no surprise whatsoever. It did make news, but it was kind of like we already kind of understood that, you know, where Assad would stand anyways on the whole situation. So
Yeah. I mean, of course, like I think it shouldn't be a surprise to Ukraine, is what I'm saying.
no,
Yeah.
but it gives them a reason to put their fist up in the air and scream.
Right. And it gives
Try
them a
break
reason
them.
to attack Syria, and of course the United States now and NATO, another reason to attack Syria, right? Because you have Syria's constantly, you know, has been attacked, sanctioned. They've tried to coup Assad. They've tried the you know, the what is it, the fake chemical attacks. They've tried everything with Syria. So and when we talk about Syria, there's so many parallels with what's happening in Russia. So no surprise, but it just shows you also the shift happening too, where these countries are getting more comfortable opposing NATO. And when you put that next to what's happening with Finland and Sweden, it just shows you what I don't want to say teams, but the alliances, right?
Yeah.
Forming.
Yeah. I think that's a very important point to make. Now everybody's becoming very easy and comfortable with doing it, you know?
Yeah, they weren't doing it before.
So watch Latin American countries too, as well. The ones that don't have too many U.S. military bases inside their country to do the same thing, you know, obviously. So
yeah, that's the thing to watch, fam.
That is. Pam, should we do some super rays? Or you want to just jump into the last section?
No, let's just do some super rays, right? Your guest
All right.
is coming in.
So, yeah, the guest is coming probably about 22 minutes. So we still have time to do the last section before we get to him. Trey Wright, thank you so much. Sending love to overall Oz, Fire Fee, and the newspaper grandma. Right here. Thank you so much, Trey Wright. Arthur Carter, thank you for the super ray contribution. Thank you, Convo Couch. Thank you, Arthur Carter. And you have a good point. Thank you for the super ray contribution. You guys still vegan? No judgments. I am back on my veganism. I'm not going to lie. I did slip. I did fall off when we went to Central America. And when I came back, I continued with the habits back at home. But now it's been 3.5 weeks that I've been back on it. We had a guy come on the morning show named Tim James. We've had Dr. Ely on, and they've talked about, you know, how a vegan diet is so just beneficial, whatnot. So he has some other treatments too as well. We have a video. I'm actually going to get a blood test revealing and stuff. I have to figure out what my body is allergic to and what it's not, you know, what my body's pretty much allergic to food-wise, allergy-wise, and figure that out and get there and stuff like that. But no matter what, I think I will be on a vegan diet for quite some time. The reason why I say I think is because there's this old school book he talked about, Eat Right for Your Blood Type, and O negative, which is supposed to be the original hunter's bloodline. He's saying that it would require some form of meat, like about 4 to 6 ounces a week or something. But I don't know. I'm gonna see. We're gonna see what's what first. I definitely do feel better since I've gotten back on the vegan diet, but I've also been going through some other treatments too as well. It's been an overall thing. Obviously, it's an ethical reason to be a vegan too as well. That's one of the reasons inside. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to make vegan bolognese tonight. Been doing the whole thing again, making vegan food. I've been sharing it with Steve. Steve's been eating a lot of it as well. So,
wow,
now,
Steve's been eating a lot of it?
A lot of it, yeah. Like today I made we went home really quick in between because he had to take Gomez out, and I took chickpeas and I mashed them down and made like a tuna salad, added onion and celery and little pickle juice and jalapenos that were pickled in there, and chopped it up with mayonnaise, mustard, and put it on a spinach wrap. So he had some of that today. I with the vegan cheese, you know, the fake vegan cheese. So I put that inside and kind of melted it like a little melty wrap. And then, you know, the other day, I made some wraps too as well. I've been making a lot of wraps too as well with a lot of vegetables, drinking the cachava with coconut milk and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, right now I'm back on it. I made the beautiful the lentil dal fam that we love. I made a cauliflower pasta I'm back on it right now, and I hope to stay on it as much as I can. But however, I'm going to look at my blood type too as well and make sure that, if it's a situation that I need 4 to 6 ounces of meat a week, I'll have to address that situation. But right now, like I said, almost a month back on it. And I, listen, I was quiet about it too as well. Because I was embarrassed about it and upset about it. Because, I went to Central America. It's very, very hard. The first day we had beans and rice and plantains. And then I was like, I ate beans, rice, and plantains. And I thought I was still good. They were like, oh, yeah, the beans were cooked in a pork fat. I'm like, well, there goes that. And then the next thing you know, you're going with people and they're just putting food in front of you. And you shut your mouth and you kind of eat it. You're in their country.
Yeah, that was part of it, I think.
Hard. It was a month.
I think that was part of it because, and it was like, I didn't want to be that American that's like, excuse me, I have this diet. Like honestly, that's one of the things I've always hated about people who have like certain beliefs, like whether it's vegetarianism or veganism, sometimes it comes off very privileged. If you're in a foreign country, especially, and I didn't want to do that when we were traveling a lot, especially the second round, like this year, basically.
Yeah.
So no, I haven't been exactly, but I just don't really eat meat in general. Like, so it's just hard, like coming to Moscow now and like not having, I can't even read the menu. Like I have to use like an app because most, like they lied. They're like, a lot of people speak. No, they don't. They don't speak English a lot. And if they do, it's very broken and it's not like it's hard to communicate. So I have this app that translates the food for translates anything. Like if you take a picture, it'll translate from Russian to English. And it's been a life-saving app because I don't know how I would communicate. And so it's been like, I don't know. I haven't seen vegan stuff. And when I was in Turkey, it was very easy because there's hummus, there's like vegetables. They eat very, very light. But mostly I eat fish. I've had chicken, but I don't, like I said, I don't eat a lot of meat. I would like to go back to it. At least, I was pescatarian for like over a decade before I was vegan for however long, like a year and a half. So it's not hard. I think in Russia though, right now where I don't know like exactly the food yet, once I find my rhythm and once I find like a good shopping market and and that's the thing, like I don't have time to cook necessarily. So that's another thing. Like I'm not a cook like pasta is.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot easier when you're with somebody who's cooking like vegan stuff all the time. And that's something even, with the 2 shows now, it's like, it was hard. And, just coming to Vegas and just kind of just going out and getting whatever and whatnot. But, I've always, every single time I didn't eat vegan, it was in my mind, you got to get back on this. You got to do this. And like I said, I've kind of like now gone through this whole new therapy. It's the Tim James show. We had Tim James on in the morning show. If you go look up Anarchy in the Morning, AM Wake Up, Tim James, it's the last hour. And Dr. Ely too, as well. It's, I've been back on track now and I feel good about it.
What about the Bill Gates meet though?
Here's the thing I was going to, thank you for reminding me because I almost forgot, because that's the most important thing is like right now, I'm trying to have as least amount of processed food as possible. Last time out there, too much of the processed food, right? Like every single morning that we would make vegan, I make those vegan sausages. Well, it's like, I'm not doing that anymore. And I'm going to make bolognese tonight, a vegan bolognese, but I'm not going to use any Bill Gates meat. I'm going to use tempeh instead and try to extract the flavor that way. So this time around too, as well, I want to make sure that I'm not having the processed crap. Just because it's vegan doesn't mean it's good. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yes, there's no, because it is vegan. And that's the thing right now, there's vegan junk food out there and it's all processed crap. So we got to be careful of that too, as well. And that's what I'm paying attention to most this time around. Also just trying to be conscious too, as well as not drinking as much before eating, trying to eating without drinking. So therefore you don't, water down the vitamins in your system and whatnot. And so there's multiple things I'm trying to do this time. But I mean, I think we all need to start learning how to plant our own food and all that stuff. Because the next place I want to live, fam, I want to make sure that I'm planting my own tomatoes. That's, that's one of the rules and stuff. I think we need to all kind of get that way. And just the fact that, like, okay, Steve, like, obviously he's not a vegan, right? But now if I'm eating vegan, he's eating vegan with me. So he'll have days that he's eating vegan. And if we can all kind of just share that, I know, the person who said, you have a good point, no judgments. Well, I try to make sure that I'm not being the asshole vegan. So if I can get somebody to have some vegan food here and there, it's taking away from the meat they will consume, right? So if we can just all kind of join in that way and just try to, have a vegan meal here and there, it's going to help people out. It's going to help society out. It's going to help the planet out as well. So I always try to kind of plant that in people's minds too, as well as like, hey man, as long as you're working towards having a vegan diet, of sorts, the majority of it, you're not consuming this because, remember fam, it's like back when I hung out with you, it was like when we first started hanging out, it was all like pescatarian shit. Right. But before that, when I lived with Ron Placone, we'd have a stack of salami in the house every single day. Like we would replenish that stuff. It was just growing up Italian. We would eat and consume a pork, beef, or a chicken almost every single fucking meal. And that's just ridiculous. So, there is some moderation into society. And I would hope that people who don't necessarily want to become a vegan, whatnot, that at least would incorporate some vegan food so we can work to a more sustainable planet.
Yeah. I agree, fam.
And that person just came and says, we just want to support. No worries, man. You have good reasons. Just curious. Yeah, we and listen, I avoided talking about it. Like I kept it in because I didn't want people to know because I felt like I let people down, right? I really did. And we were like pretty strict for like a year and a half. I mean, man, we did it so good, right, fam? We were just like, we were vegans. We were vegans in the house and we were eating vegan all the time. And there was hardly any slips for a year and a half. We went to the global south for a month and it just hit us all off kilter. It's hard being vegan in Nicaragua. When we were in Bilwi, I mean, come on, there's no local supermarket there. There's one restaurant in town. It's tough.
Yeah.
So.
All right. We got one more section.
Yeah. He's coming in 12 minutes. Can you get through this section in 12 minutes?
Yeah, that's why I was trying to go, but then you just.
Right. Well, our fams asked about it, so we had to.
I know. So
and thank you, by the way.
The lowest rate of military recruitment in years the U.S. is experiencing. This is unprecedented. They haven't experienced this since. It's been a while. It's been decades, right? And the U.S. is still refusing to give Afghanistan their national assets. So this is all tied together because a lot of the people that no longer have a good view of the what do you call it of the military that used to have a good view don't have it because of what they've seen happen with the forever war in Afghanistan. And now, of course, as we've said before, they're intending on making Ukraine the next forever war. So this is from the WA Post, which is rare, but they even admitted that the Biden administration officials are working with the Taliban leadership to allow Afghanistan's government to use its central bank. Okay, the Biden administration is working with the Taliban to allow Afghanistan's government. Do you see something wrong with that statement? Right? Why does the United States have any sort of authority to allow Afghanistan?
Because we're the policemen of the world, fam. Get it through your head.
It's just like this is normalized. This isn't normal. You shouldn't be okay with hearing those words and being like, oh, okay. No, we have no jurisdiction over any other country. We shouldn't, but we act, of course, like we do. And so they're working on this mechanism to allow Afghanistan's government to use its central bank reserves to deal with the severe hunger crisis without giving the former militant group free rein, aiming to avert a humanitarian disaster that AIDS group estimate could harm millions. They already are harming millions. Like, this is an unprecedented humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan. And these people are suffering and continuing to suffer because of the United States. It wasn't enough with the war. Now it's continuing to be this thing. And so Afghanistan partly, and they admit this, faces catastrophe because the Biden administration froze billions of dollars in the country's reserves after the collapse of the US-backed government last August. And ever since then, they've gone into an even worse catastrophe than they had. And of course, you add sanctions to that, right, on its banking sector. And then, of course, Afghanistan went into financial chaos. They don't have the money to buy the food and other imports that the country depends on. So when they sanction you, you can't use your money. Like it's just like that. And so the United Nations Refugee Agency said in January that Afghanistan is, quote, descending into the worst humanitarian crisis in the world, with 24 million people, or more than half of the population, in need of emergency assistance, a 30% increase since last year. And so the United States is still refusing to give them the reserves.
Yep.
And so did you want to say something before I continue?
No, keep going.
Okay. So the White House announced in February that Afghanistan's $7 billion in foreign aid reserves would be chopped off into two pieces, with $3.5 billion held for the ongoing legal claims of the families of the victims of 9/11. Do you hear this? This is absolute travesty. This is abuse. This is disgusting. And then, of course, the administration promised to release the other $3.5 billion back to Afghanistan because the United States, again, has control of Afghanistan's assets. But it has remained unused. In a statement then, the White House said the move was, quote, designed to provide a path for the funds to reach the people of Afghanistan while keeping them out of the hands of the Taliban and malicious actors. Why are the Taliban even there?
Well, the Taliban's only the Taliban because of, American intervention going way back. They're pieces of the Mujahideen, which was a radical group we supported years ago, and they eventually became the Taliban when they split off in different factions. So yeah, I mean, that's why the Taliban is even the Taliban.
So it's almost like the United States goes into countries, creates these radical groups that help also tear down the country, and then takes their money away by saying these radicals cannot be in charge of the country, so we're going to control your money. So they create chaos in order to exploit that chaos. Doesn't that seem a little bit just wrong? I mean, even if you don't care about if you don't care about foreign policy, doesn't that seem like, okay, you maybe shouldn't trust that government, a government that does that on anything, perhaps? Why would you? Why would you think you can reform that? You can't reform that. It's a bunch of warmongering psychopaths that are doing that, and they're free right now. They gave R. Kelly a prison sentence, but all the men Ghislaine Maxwell sex trafficked these little girls to, they're free.
Yeah.
Ghislaine gets a slap on the wrist, and then it's just like we have warmongers living very nicely, and so some Democrats have said that the U.S. policy has proved insufficient for the growing economic crisis in Afghanistan. No shit, which has been exacerbated by global spikes in food prices due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So once again, this is because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It's not because of the sanctions placed on Russia and the fact that Russia has said, if you demine these ports, we will allow the grain to go through. We have no problem. Save the Children, an international aid group, estimated that roughly 10 million children in Afghanistan are going hungry every day. Yeah. This is the United States doing this. This is NATO. This is the West, who were, of course, our allies during this whole thing. And they also estimated that 20,000 people were pushed into famine from March into May alone. Pramila Jayapal, chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, said the United States must move quickly. I'm glad that you're saying that, Pramila, but next time you're going to vote on warmongering legislation that starts, famines and decades and completely just eliminates generations of young people, of kids, of women, of just children from the map of humanity, maybe don't vote for it instead of just saying it after the fact, which is what the vast majority of these progressives do. And the foreign ministry spokesperson of the of China, Zhao Lijian, said the U.S. is the one that started the ongoing humanitarian disasters in Afghanistan. It is immediately responsible for the raging wars and conflicts, poverty, hunger, and the people suffering in that country for many years. During the 20 years of U.S. invasion in Afghanistan, and it was a U.S. invasion, over 30,000 Afghan civilians were killed and 11 million Afghans became refugees. In the face of natural disasters and man-made calamities, because, by the way, Afghanistan just experienced a devastating earthquake, the U.S. should immediately stop chokeholding the Afghan people and return to them Afghanistan's national assets as soon as possible. They should take concrete actions to remedy the harms they have inflicted on the Afghan people and mitigate the ongoing humanitarian disaster in that country. But they won't, because they don't give a shit about Afghani people. They said they cared about the Afghan women when it was convenient.
Yep. Yeah. The sanctions have killed more people than the bombs have in Afghanistan. And that's the craziest thing. And, you know, some people have been sounding the alarms on this for quite some time. There was a whole little video. I can't remember his name. The one good journalist left at The Intercept, where he caught, what's his name? Jeez. But anyways, he was outside of Congress and he started asking all the congressional members about the sanction in Afghanistan, the fact that they're killing more people than the bombs, and why they should go. Who was it? It wasn't Jeremy Scahill. Asian dude. Li Fang?
Yeah.
It was Li Fang. And Jeremy Scahill is a putz, by the way. He's long gone. But just seeing the response from some of these congressional members, they didn't even give a damn, fam. It was nuts. It's like they still felt justified because it was the Taliban in control. So they can sit there and say, no, we have to fight back against the Taliban. Yeah, but it's not affecting the Taliban. It's affecting the people, the citizens, the children. Their malnutrition, you know, is running wild over here right now. And then we had the I believe they had earthquakes just recently. Was that in Afghanistan?
Yeah, that's what just like the earthquake. Yeah.
The earthquake. I would just, you know, how many people it killed. It's quite sad.
So just to wrap up this section, let's play out this video. I'll stop it, Oz, when it needs to be stopped.
She'll let you know when to stop it, Oz.
I'll say pause.
Oh, it's Steve.
Joe Biden says it's time for more U.S. troops in Europe. Boots on the ground in Poland. Boots on the ground in Baltic states. Time to send in the Marines. But scratch beneath the surface of the overseas bravado, and you'll find out that the U.S. military is having some problems on the home front. One of them is recruiting.
This is the start of a long drought for military recruiting. The military has not had such a hard time signing recruits since 1973, the year the U.S. left Vietnam and the draft officially ended. 2022 is the year we question the sustainability of the all-volunteer force.
Recruitment for the U.S. Army was only 40% of target numbers. The Air Force was 4,000 short. The Air National Guard and the Army Reserve are also short and won't meet their expected numbers. So they are turning to help from the silver screen.
Top Gun got a whole generation excited about naval aviation, excited about coming and doing military flying and joining the service. And our hope is that as people go and see this movie, by the way, they'll get excited all over again about flying for the U.S. military.
So it seems that out of desperation, they've actually changed the rules. They now accept recruits without high school diplomas and with tattoos on their hands and necks. That's been outlawed for years. Also, confidence in the U.S. military among the U.S. public has significantly decreased. After last year's debacle in Afghanistan, U.S. public trust in the American military went from 70% in February all the way down to 45% in December. And the policies of the U.S. military are also a bit off-putting to many Americans.
This is the story of a soldier who operates your nation's Patriot missile defense systems. It begins in California with a little girl raised by two moms.
For some reason, this attempt to wokeify the U.S. military is not causing an inflow of fresh blood. And for some, that's not particularly surprising at all.
Have you seen the US Army commercial Emma the Calling? The most pathetic excuse for a recruitment ad. It's even done in anime form. They lost focus of their target audience.
Don't worry, I've seen the US Army recruitment ad and there is a girl called Emma who has 2 moms. I feel completely safe.
I recently watched Emma's video and I wondered if I was watching a US Army recruitment video or a Netflix Originals trailer.
But it keeps going. The U.S. Navy is now raising awareness about pronouns for LGBT Pride Month.
Using the right pronouns is a really simple way to affirm someone's identity. It is a signal of acceptance and respect.
If it's a signal of acceptance and respect, how do we
so you
go
can
about
cut it now.
creating a safe space for everybody?
We get
That's a good question.
Yeah, I got
good
it
way to-
after the picture after we got the cartoon fan, the way they kind of fluffed it on up.
So yeah, they're trying to make it look
Bring us on and on.
very, very nice to appeal to a certain demographic to come into, but the recruitment numbers are done. So that's actually a good thing for a lot of us. So yeah, that's that section, and just some statistics from our friend Caleb and RT.
What was with the whole thing with Caleb? Let's go against this white wall over here. This looks good. This white brick wall. That's awesome. He's hanging out in New York. We love Caleb Maupin. We love his reporting. Let's bring in our guest, fam. What do you say?
Yes.
He is the co-author of The Courage to Face COVID-19, Preventing Hospitalization and Death While Battling the Biopharmaceutical Complex. He also, I believe, has COVID right now, and that's why we wanted to bring him on. We had Steve Kershaw on the other day. He was on day 3. He co-authored this book with Peter McCullough, our good friend. John Leake is here. John, how you doing today?
I'm well. How are you guys?
You're well. What day of COVID are you on? And how are you feeling? And what are you doing to combat it?
I'm on day 5, illness, treatment day, about, 4.
Are we on Rokfin? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have to get off of my bad. I'm so sorry. John, this is crazy. We can't be on YouTube for this section because we will get a strike. So we're just going to leave YouTube right now, guys. Gone over. Give Jilly Love if you could put the link in the chat real quick. Oz, let's open up the picture on John a little bit too much. He's too cropped too quickly right there. He's got no neck. Guys, we're going to leave YouTube in 5 seconds. In 4. In 3, in 2, in 1. Put the link up there, Jilly Love. Everybody go over to Rokfin. John Leake is here with us. Coming on today. I didn't even know if you're going to be able to make it because I knew that you had COVID.